RNZ Pacific News, Kiran, I'm Koro. The Anglo Provincial Administrator in Papua New Guinea says it's difficult to change cultural perceptions around tribal violence. Candice Santos brother was killed in tribal conflict a fortnight ago. Since his brother's death, he told his clan not to retaliate. Mr. Saka says peace is a necessary prerequisite to development, like having more schools and hospitals.
The expectation to retaliate is perceived as a way not only to resolve conflicts, but as a way of protecting family from tribal honor. It's an accepted fact that if you are wrong, you have to address that wrong, and one of the ways, unfortunately, it happens in this part of the world is by responding to murder, by reciprocating murder.
Meanwhile, the United Nations Development Programme in Papua New Guinea is asking donors for millions more in its efforts to help the people of Anga province. Alongside 2 weeks ago claimed an unknown number of lives and left many hundreds displaced. The UNDP has been helping with the initial response, and its Fiji country resident coordinator, Nicholas Pink, says in the initial response phase, the humanitarian needs were overwhelming. He says they now need help with ongoing care and rebuilding their communities.
They want to rebuild their homes. They want to actually be helped to start up their normal lives again. And you're right, it is going to be a sizable ask. I think that we have estimated the early recovery needs at around $5 million and then $7 million for the broader peace-building program.
Around 300 health professionals in New Caledonia have launched an appeal to authorities to sort out the ongoing political and security crisis for the sake of their patients. The appeal is called Our Health in Danger. It's backed by doctors, caregivers, nurses, dentists, psychologists, surgeons, midwives, physiotherapists, speech therapists, and patient associations who have written a letter outlining their concerns. They say the New Caledonian health system is getting bogged down and they need action for the sake of their patients. A union representing New Zealand's doctors says halting recruitment for the country's health services will cause risk. Health New Zealand has ordered an immediate recruitment freeze on all non-frontline roles. This includes all hospital roles that don't deal directly with patients and all public health jobs that don't deal directly with the community. Executive Director of the Association of Salaried Medical Specialists, Sarah Dalton, told Morning Report health services are effectively a sinking lid.
We have staff who are being asked to work extra hours and expected to do it without being paid for it. We have doctors working ridiculous hours because to try and hold services together. So you can probably hear the frustration in my voice, but it is not a good situation.
Health New Zealand says the recruitment freeze is to help manage an overspend, but frontline services won't be affected. I was concerned that Auckland University students have little awareness of the risk posed by the deadly meningococcal disease. The student in the Hall of Residence recently contracted the illness. The Meningitis Foundation says all university students need to be aware of the symptoms of the disease and get vaccinated if they can. Chair Gerard Weston says vaccinations for meningococcal B and various strains are free for people aged 13 to 25 years who are in close living situations. He says every second counts and a person's condition can get worse very quickly. Also in Aotearoa, more young people are not in education, employment or training, and economists are warning it could lead to worse outcomes down the track. As my correspondent Susan Edmonds reports, the latest data paints a worrying picture.
Stats NZ data shows the rate of young people not in education, employment or training has lifted since the start of last year. Among people aged 20 to 24, 18% of women are not in training or work, up 27%. Brad Osler from Infometrics says the demand for workers in recent years might have encouraged some to leave school for a good job offer. But he says if they don't have skills and become unemployed, it could be hard to get work again. CTU economist Craig Rennie says young people who are sidelined for too long may also have lower earnings over their lifetime.
In all of these, U.S. President Biden and Ukraine's President Zelensky have signed a 10-year security agreement following the G7's approval of a plan to use profits from seized Russian assets to fund Kiev's war effort. President Biden says it will include intelligence sharing, troop training, adherence to NATO standards, and investment in Ukraine's industrial base to make more weapons.
Our goal is to strengthen Ukraine's credible defense and deterrence capabilities for the long term. A lasting peace for Ukraine must be underwritten by Ukraine's own ability to defend itself now and to deter future aggression anytime in the future. The United States is going to help ensure that Ukraine can do both.
President Zelensky has described the new security deal with the U.S. as the strongest agreement struck since his country's independence in 1991. The World Health Organization says the global number of cases of mosquito-borne dengue fever this year have already outstripped those from last year. There have been nearly 8 million cases recorded so far, but it's believed the true figure could be closer to 9 million. There have been around 4,000 deaths, mainly in Central and South America. Health experts say climate change is a significant factor in extending the range of the disease-carrying mosquitoes north and south, but also to higher altitudes. The U.S. Supreme Court justices have unanimously rejected a bid to sharply restrict access to the abortion medication mifepristone. Since the court struck down the federal right to abortion 2 years ago, the pills, sometime male, have become an effective workaround. The BBC's Nomia Iqbal reports.
The court basically said the challengers had no legal standing to bring the case because they did not prescribe or use mifepristone. One conservative justice quoted a famous doctrine set by a former justice saying, "What's it to you?" and suggested there were other avenues in which challengers could object to the drug. This ruling does not change the fact that medication abortion remains illegal in 14 states with near total bans on abortion. This is whether it's done by a procedure or a pill.
In sport, Gaku Akazawa has been touted as a ray of hope in Samoa wrestling. He was born in Tokyo, Japan, but in a rare case where a Japanese national switches nationality, he will be representing Samoa in freestyle wrestling at the Olympic Games in Paris. Akagawa was a national champion in Japan before coming to Samoa in 2017. Local media says he's optimistic about his chances despite a minor injury. The Brumbies will need to buck 28 years of history if they are to keep the Australian flag flying in the Super Rugby playoffs. But coach Stephen Larkham is convinced their trip to Auckland tonight is no mission impossible. The Canberra-based outfit faced the Blues in the first semi-final as they seek to become the first Australian side to win a playoff match on New Zealand soil in the competition's history. The Blues pummeled the Brumbies in Auckland in April and have won their last 14 games at Eden Park. But Larkham believes the Brumbies, who have won 7 straight matches since that April drubbing, are peaking at the right time.
We're on a bit of a roll in terms of our ability to win games. We've been building all year to try and get our best performances in the finals, and we're looking to take it a step further.
Rafael Nadal will skip Wimbledon in July in order to prepare for the Olympic Games in Paris, which will be played on a clay course at Roland Garros. Nadal, a record 14 times winner of the French Open, has been far from his best after returning from injuries and exited the tournament in the first round this year. And Euro 2024 host Germany are on course for a narrow victory in the opening match against Scotland tomorrow, according to an Oracle orangutan at Dortmund Zoo. 35-year-old Walter picked the bucket with a German scarf finish rather than the one with a Scotland scarf. That's news and sports from RNZ Pacific. There's more on our website, rnzi.com.
Hello, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susanna Suzuki. Coming up, I don't know that it necessarily goes a long way to removing a fractured element. Manua's behind the results are out, but will this make any difference? Also, we thought this was a fantastic opportunity to provide some safe space. Pacific men open up about their mental health journey and we set up a turn on the Micronesian Games.
in Vanuatu politics says the country's proposed constitutional amendment will only partly address the chronic political instability that has been brought into term. The legislation, which has been passed by Parliament and approved in a national referendum, just needs to be gazetted to come into effect. 17A states if an MP leaves a political party or is ejected from a party, their seat is automatically vacated. And 17B effectively removes independent MPs and single MP parties from Parliament. Pacific Hub Project lead at Greater Asia Institute, Chief Newton Kane, says what the laws do not address is the fractured nature of Vanuatu politics. She spoke with Roy Hawkins, who began by asking her what she thought of the referendum result.
Yeah, I mean, obviously both of the questions were voted for in the affirmative, and they were solid majorities, about 59% for 17A, 57% for 17B. So they were clear majorities. We weren't looking at kind of like